Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Now today we're going to be doing a KDP Q&A. Just a heads up, all of these questions are coming from people that have submitted them in my free Amazon KDP community. So if you do want to check that out, I will leave a link to this below down in the description. So the first question, when you say to bid aggressively on KDP ads, what exactly do you mean? Now, when I say bid aggressively on Amazon KDP ads, I'm basically meaning have really high bids and not to worry too much about the profitability of your ad. This is because advertising on Amazon isn't always about being super profitable. Sometimes, especially after you've just launched your book, your main goal should just be getting as much volume in terms of sales as you can for your book. This is because when you first launch your KDP book, it's unlikely it's going to be ranked very high in the search results, and therefore you could use Amazon ads to push it as high as possible, and then the more sales you get, the more you start ranking organically, and then you can start pulling back some of your bids. So I would suggest the first couple of months, bid really aggressively. Don't worry too much about the profitability of your ad. That's not the main goal. The main goal is just to get as many sales as possible, get your book going into the algorithm, and start building up reviews purely just through a higher volume of sales, which you can get from bidding aggressively on your KDP ads. Now, if this sounds confusing, I actually released a video recently covering all of this in full detail, which I will leave linked up here in the top corner. Question number 2, in Q4, should I make holiday books? Now, I'm assuming by holiday books, you mean Christmas books. And the answer is a hard no. So many people think to capitalize on Q4 and the Christmas uplift, you therefore need to be making Christmas books. That's just a terrible approach. Not only does this limit the number of months in the year that you're actually gonna sell this book, because no one's gonna buy a Christmas book in April, May, June, that kind of time. They're only really gonna buy it between October and December. So the first error you're making is just boxing yourself in way too much. And secondly, Christmas gifts aren't usually Christmas themed. So the main thing you should be doing is just creating books as normal that you can be seen given as gifts, and they will by default be uplifted during this Q4 period because there's just so many more people looking for gifts, and they will sell throughout the rest of the year. But with that said, I do recommend going in and adding some Q4 and Christmas themed keywords. So maybe for 3 months of the year, change some of your back-end keywords to Christmas gift related, Secret Santa, that kind of thing, and just repackage your book as a Q4 book rather than just making a holiday book. So I hope that makes sense. And again, I have a whole video covering all of this on my channel, which again, I will leave linked up here if you want to watch that in full detail. Question number 3, what is better, manual or automatic targeting when it comes to KDP ads? Now, this again completely depends on how much data you have. If you're starting with absolutely no data, you have a book, but you don't know how you want to target it, I would just recommend doing auto ads because Amazon will look at your book's title, description, load of its metadata, and place it based on where it thinks it's likely to convert into a sale. However, if you already have data and you know there's certain keywords that are driving loads of sales for this book, that is when I would recommend manual targeting. So as a rough rule, if you're just starting out with no data and the first ad you want to launch for your book, I would recommend that being an auto ad to get as much data as possible and also let Amazon do a lot of the heavy lifting for you. And then once you have data, so you know some products and some keywords that convert into sales, take these and then put them into manual campaigns because they are going to be so much more targeted. So it all kind of comes down to how much data that you have. Question number 4, what's the most you would bid on Amazon ads? Now this depends on 2 main things. Number 1, how competitive the keyword or product target is that you're bidding on. And number 2, how many royalties you're making for your book. Some keywords and product targets are just quite expensive because so many people are bidding on them and you have to compete against all those, which just drives the price up for how much you have to bid to win that target. So let's just say you're bidding on a really competitive keyword and you're not winning any bids for anything under £1. That's generally quite a high bid. And then on the other side, if there's a keyword that you can win for maybe 20 cents or 30 cents, that's quite a cheap keyword. But then all of this needs to be balanced out with the other side of this equation, which is how much you're making per book sale in terms of royalties. If your royalties per book is something like £2, then bidding £1 on a keyword just doesn't make that much sense because you're only going to get at max 2 clicks before your book becomes unprofitable. However, if you're getting £6-7 royalties for your book, all of a sudden a £1 bid doesn't quite seem as expensive anymore because you can get 7 clicks before that ad becomes potentially unprofitable. So it all depends A, on how competitive a keyword or product target is, and B, how many royalties you're making from your book. But I do have a general rule where I need to get at least 3 clicks before my bid becomes unprofitable. So let's just say I make $2.10 per book sale. The max I would be prepared to bid on a keyword or a product target for that book might be 70 cents, because 70 cents times 3 takes me up to that £2.10 royalties, and after 3 clicks, that then becomes unprofitable. So that's a general rule for me. I want at least 3 clicks on that target before it starts to become unprofitable. But again, it's very situational, but you have to just weigh up this balance between how many royalties you're making and how much each product or keyword target costs in the first place. Question number 5. This is a really common one. How to get sales without ads. Now, Amazon KDP is very different now to what it was a couple of years ago, where you could just throw a book up and just get loads of sales organically without using any ads. But the thing is, it's so much more competitive now. So this is why I highly suggest you do use ads when you first launch your book, especially just to get some organic ranking going in the first place. But if you can't afford any ads whatsoever, what's the best thing that you can do? Now, the best thing you can do without ads is to get reviews on your book as quickly as possible. So if you can, convert your book into an ebook format, run some free promotions and try and get reviews that way, or make sure you're publishing books in very, very low competition niches so you can actually rank organically quite easily without making many sales in the first place. But selling on KDP without any kind of ads is very difficult. So I would say focus on getting as many reviews as possible and publishing in as low competition niches as you possibly can. Question number 6, how important are reviews / A+ content? Now, going back to this point of Amazon KDP being even more competitive than it's ever been, reviews and A+ content are more important than they've ever been, because it allows your book to stand out from all of this competition. Now, things like your title, your book cover is all about getting people to click into your book, but then to get people to convert from seeing your book listing to actually buying your book, that's all about reviews and A+ content. If someone lands on your book listing and you have no reviews and you have no A+ content, not only does it not have the social proof of other people buying it and saying it's a good book, but you're also not providing any extra detail or offering any more perceived value that you would get through producing high quality A+ content. So these two things are all about increasing the conversion rate of people who land on your book listing and end up buying your book. In short, they are both very important. And I actually have dedicated videos on how to optimize your Amazon A+ content and also how to get reviews on your books in my self-publishing accelerator program, which I will leave linked down below in the description if you want to learn how to do that and loads of other high value Amazon KDP strategies. Question number 7, what's the easiest way to make ads more profitable? Now, I actually only just released a video at the time of recording covering 3 things you can do to make your ads more profitable. Again, I will leave that linked up here so you can access that video too. But essentially, I covered in that video 3 main things. Firstly, negative targeting. So making sure you're not paying for any keyword or product targets that aren't converting into sales. Secondly, increasing your bids, which might sound a little bit counterproductive if you're trying to make your ads more profitable, but you're bidding more. But actually, sometimes bidding more means you're winning much more of the high converting keyword or product targets, which at that point makes so much more sense to be doing. And then finally, using portfolios allows you to organize all of your ads so much easier and actually pinpoint specifically where they're going wrong so you can go in and optimize them. But like I say, I cover all of that in the video, which I've just linked above. Question number 8, how do you use AI in your books? Now, this is probably the most common question that I get asked because AI is currently a huge thing at the moment. In short, I use AI to take up any of the really low value but time consuming tasks. The biggest point I want to get across here is AI is not there to just simply replace everything that you should be doing on Amazon KDP. You can't just upload fully AI generated books. If you do that, you will get banned, and don't come crying to me when your account's been banned because you were too lazy to do anything with KDP and you thought you could cheat the system with AI. Like I say, you need to be using AI as a way of outsourcing really low value, high time consuming tasks. So let's just say you were making a word search book for kids and you needed 100 different words under 10 different word search themes for your book. That's a really low value but time consuming task. You have to think of 100 individual words. Anyone can do it, but it just takes a lot of time. In that case, you'd use something like ChatGPT, tell it exactly what theme your word search is about, the kind of themes you want each individual word search to be, and then ask it for 10 words per word search. It will literally give all the information you need in a matter of seconds, rather than you taking maybe an hour or 2 to do it yourself. And if you're wondering if this is going to be AI generated content, there is no way of proving if single individual words are AI generated. So something like this is absolutely okay. And another time I would use AI for my books is to help with images. So paying illustrators for elements of your book cover or things you want to include in your book interior is very, very expensive, but with things like DALL-E or Midjourney, generating images using AI is now cheaper and easier than it's ever been. So that's another massive way you should be using AI. Now, in terms of fair use, I would never produce a fully AI generated cover. I would just get certain elements for my book cover from AI and then put everything together in Canva so it's still my very own unique creation. I've just used AI for certain elements of it. So in short, leverage AI, don't just solely rely on it, because if you solely rely on it, you will get banned. And trust me, it's just not worth it. Question 9, do coloring books actually work? Yes, of course they actually work. There's a big misconception from people that they think coloring books are just a way of people, selling the dream of Amazon KDP. Coloring books absolutely do still work, but if you're just producing generic coloring books that thousands of people have already made, you aren't going to sell a single unit. The key and the value in something like coloring books is not in the book itself, it's in the niche and the keyword research. A coloring book can literally take hundreds of different forms in thousands of different niches. You just need to make sure you're finding a niche that isn't too competitive and you're producing a product that is better than anything else on the market. That sounds so simplistic, but honestly, that's all you need to do. But if you're just going to be producing an animal coloring book or a unicorn coloring book, of course you're not going to make any sales because there's already tens of thousands of these out there. You need to be doing maybe a different style of coloring book or coloring book with facts or coloring books in really low competition niches. That's how you start niching down and actually bringing a successful coloring book to life. So yes, coloring books absolutely still can be successful, but you need to make sure you're being strategic with the books that you're making. Question 10, what's the deal with US withholding tax? Now, that's quite a niche question. I'm definitely not an accountant, nor do I live in the US. But for KDP, they do charge you a US withholding tax if you are selling books and you're outside of the US. I think it's something like 30%. But if you're someone like me who is from the UK, or you're from a country that has a tax treaty with the US, then you don't have to pay this 30% tax. So I personally don't pay this US withholding tax. So you might want to go into your reports and just make sure you're not paying this if you're from a country where they have a tax treaty with the US. This is all way over my head in terms of accountancy. That's not what I specialize in, but I do have some experience with doing this. So just go on Google and type in your country and then see if it has a treaty with the US in terms of tax withholding. And if it does, make sure you contact KDP and make sure they're aware that you shouldn't be paying this withholding tax. So there you go, there are 10 questions answered that you sent in. I hope you got some value from these questions. Again, if you do want to submit some more questions for the next Q&A, then please do join my free Amazon KDP community and ask all of the questions in there. I will leave that link down below in the description. And if you want to level up your KDP business, then you can check out my self-publishing accelerator, which I will also leave linked down below in the description. But thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.